Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Inga Cotton. I'm the founder and executive director of San Antonio Charter Moms, and these are Charter Moms Chats where we go live to share information that families need to know to help their kids get a great education. And often we're talking about what schools, pre-K through 12, 5 days a week, what schools families are picking for their kids. But we also believe that enrichment activities are really important, including field trips and what families are able to bring their kids to out of school time. And today we get to share some exciting news about the San Antonio Philharmonic, which is offering a series of concerts for students and a variety of other ways that families can access great classical music. So to talk about the San Antonio Philharmonic, we have Jeremy Brimhall, and he is the Director of Education and Community Engagement for the San Antonio Philharmonic. And then we also have Peter Rubins, who is the Vice President of the Board for the San Antonio Philharmonic. So I want to thank you both for joining us. I want to mention too that there is a guest post that Jeremy wrote. It's published new on sachartermoms.com today. So I encourage everybody to read that. It has lots of details, links to their website, ways to take action. So, but I'm really happy to be able to have a conversation and talk about the San Antonio Philharmonic. So thanks all for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah. So I have lots of questions, but Jeremy, I want you to first. So there might be people who are wondering, wait, San Antonio Philharmonic, that's a different name. What's up with that? So if you could share about that, and then talk about the mission and vision of the San Antonio Philharmonic, especially as it has to do with community engagement, because I think that's really exciting.
Thank you so much. So I'm delighted to be a part of the San Antonio Philharmonic and extend on the legacy that was established by the San Antonio Symphony over 80 years of educational involvement and community engagement in the city. I came on with the San Antonio Philharmonic under its former name, the Mozas Performance Fund, in July. But really, I think I should turn it over to Peter, because he was involved long before that in making things happen with this new organization.
Thank you, Jeremy. And I'm happy to be here and talk with everyone online. We had this former name, which was Moses Performance Fund, and it didn't really roll off the tongue very easily, and we wanted to find a new name that was easier to understand. And so San Antonio Philharmonic seemed like a natural course of action for us to do, and that's where we are. And we're very excited about rolling out that name and the website and our new season. I'm sure you have many, many more questions, but I would like to say that we're so excited, and we're working very hard to bring so many different things to people across all of San Antonio. We're very interested in this educational component as well. It is one of our highest priorities. We're going around the city, and we're going to be performing with full orchestra at 9 different high schools. And my colleague Jeremy will be telling you more about these programs, but we're so excited to be actually traveling around to all parts of the city. And we're putting on 36 performances in the schools, which I'm very proud to do. And being the father of a 20-year-old, I know how important it is to have these other curricula events for our students, because we all need to appreciate more than just what is around us in our home and our schools. We need to do more than that. So happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. Okay, well, that's a great segue. I wanted to ask Jeremy to explain more about this. So, Peter, you mentioned the young people's concerts, but Jeremy, there's a whole series, and so I was wondering if you could explain more, what type of music will be presented, what are the logistics, what is the schedule of the season?
Okay, well, I'm really excited to share about this. So, thank you again for the opportunity. The Young People's Concerts are something that go back to, I believe, 1943, when the San Antonio Symphony first started to present them. And of course, it's an opportunity for students of upper elementary grades to come down to a performance hall and experience a live professional symphony orchestra on stage and learn about all that it takes to create that, about the music, about the composers. We've made our productions more and more cross-curricular in the last several years. So we're tying not only into the fine arts objectives, the state teaching objectives, but also on a rotating core subject areas. So reading and English language arts, science, social studies, and we also have a concert that's fully audience participatory. And as Peter mentioned, we're doing 36 performances this year, which is actually more than the San Antonio Symphony typically did. Indeed, about 40% of what the Philharmonic musicians are going to do this year is in fact this program. So to tell you just a little bit more about it, coming up in September and October, our first production, our Young People's Concert production of the year, is called Scheherazade, a literary adventure. And through this program, students are going to be exposed to a really famous, wonderful piece of music called Scheherazade by a Russian composer, Nikolai Rimsky-Korsakov. He was inspired to write it based on stories from Arabian Nights. And so we're bringing in the literary element of those stories and narrating some of the stories as we listen to the music. And Rimsky-Korsakov really did a wonderful job of capturing different imagery and elements of the story in the music that then we can kind of highlight and, really listen for this. And so get students to appreciate the music on a deeper level than they otherwise would. And of course, all of our concerts are also very multisensory. So we have a lot of visuals and interactive things throughout the concert that I think are going to make it a real neat hit. In September, we'll be presenting at East Central High School at their new Patterson Performing Arts Center, which has a really nice venue, at Southwest High School, and also at Judson Performing Arts Center in Converse. And then we take the program to Brennan High School in October in Northside, and also to Reagan High School in Northeast. So we're performing that program at 5 different venues, hoping to hit well above 6,000 students for that program. So really excited about that one. Then coming up in November, we have a science themed program called The Planet Earth, which relates a lot into Earth sciences, planetary science, the solar system, where the Earth really fits in the larger picture of space. And we're bringing in some really wonderful music for that. The Ride of the Valkyries by Wagner. There's parts of The Rite of Spring by Stravinsky. It's going to open with Richard Strauss, his tone poem that was used in the 2001 A Space Odyssey movie that many people are familiar with. So lots of pieces that students will recognize. And then, as we talk about the science elements that they're also learning in school, we hope to really have a deep impact and get them engaged. In January, I'm really thrilled that we're going to be sharing a concert program that's uniquely dedicated to Black composers. Composers that unfortunately throughout the course of history have been often marginalized and their works underappreciated. And we look forward to, holding a torch to those works and really presenting them in a way that students will be able to access and learn about the composers and the unique challenges that they had in their lifetime. Not only American composers, but European Black composers, African composers. So really excited to share that program. That'll be in January. Then in February, we have our collaboration with the San Antonio Symphony League, which every year does a Paint to Music contest. In fact, this year will be the 49th annual Paint to Music contest. So been going along, on a long time before I came to the organization. This program is going to be a social studies program that kind of romanticizes the life of the Southwestern cowboy in the late 19th century. It's called Billy the Kid. So Billy the Kid will be one of the topics, but it's going to be music from 2 ballet suites by American composer Aaron Copland, his rodeo music from the ballet, and also Billy the Kid. And so we're going to be talking about cowboys, about what life was like in the American Southwest, hitting on a lot of social studies themes that are picked up particularly in 4th grade, and then also giving students a chance to create a work of visual art to go with the music, and if they're chosen as a winner, to have that music actually, to have that artwork actually projected on screen above the orchestra at the concert. And then finally in March, we're doing a Link Up program, which is a collaboration with the Wild Music Institute of Carnegie Hall. The San Antonio Symphony was a partner for 8 years, and I'm really pleased that the Philharmonic is going to be able to extend on that legacy. We have sort of a cult following, if you will, of music teachers in the city who really have engaged with this program and found it, really incredibly valuable for their students. Link Up is a program that's built on audience participation. So students coming into the concert hall for the first time aren't just kind of sitting and listening. They're actually actively making music with the symphony orchestra from their seats in the concert hall. So they're bringing in soprano recorders, they're prepared to do movement, to sing along, to do body percussion. And all of this is made possible through a supplementary curriculum provided by Carnegie Hall that then we do workshops with teachers on, and we distribute the materials so that they have several months in advance of preparing their students for this culminating concert. And the concert itself is, sort of the wonderful culmination of the program, but the program is so much more than that. And that's really what we look for in all of the young people's concert programs, a way to do something more than just have kind of a one and done concert experience and, okay, we'll see you next year, but to really have a meaningful impact that, is multi-sensory, that's cross-curricular, and that engages students in different ways.
Well, Jeremy, that's fantastic. I really appreciate the overview and like the different topics, timeframes, like you mentioned for the September-October concerts, like how many different high schools like all across the area. I wanted to touch back on something you said that there's sort of a cult following of music educators who really appreciate the Link Up program, but all of these concerts have, as you mentioned, like they tie in with the TEKS and they talk about their science and literacy and topics beyond just fine arts. So I'm wondering, like, can you elaborate on like sort of what do educators need to know about the young people's concerts and like how it fits in with their curriculum, what kind of materials y'all have to offer? Maybe Jeremy can talk first, and then maybe Peter, if you want to, you're an educator as well, you teach at the college level, but if you want to weigh in on the education topic as well.
Sure, thank you. So for each of the concerts, we provide a teacher guide, which has a lot of background material about the music selections, about the composers, but then also about the cross-curricular connections that we're making, not only in concert, but things that can be done in the classroom to have kind of a more robust, a deeper connection to the concert music before you even get into the concert hall. And again, we're looking for ways to really tie into things that students are already learning, or maybe it's something that they learned more about in the past year, but can really connect on and have that kind of aha moment. I think for so many, children of the age group, symphonic music and classical music in general can seem such a far off world and something that's, maybe not immediately relevant to them, which is really a false understanding of, because classical music, symphonic music is for everybody, for everyone to enjoy, but making those connections can really help them to kind of engage in the concert. So again, we've got, teacher guide. There's always an online playlist that I put together. Usually a teacher guide includes a list of a number of other links and activities that you can engage in to help you prepare for the concert. In addition to that, we also have a docent program. So we have this wonderful committee of volunteers, many of whom are retired teachers, a lot of retired music teachers. And so they prepare with a PowerPoint that I create that's got embedded music in it and a script and about concert etiquette and about what to expect in the concert. And that's something that's also freely available for teachers to subscribe to have the docent come out and visit with their students before they go to the concert, so that way, once they get in the concert hall, they're ready to enjoy it on the next level. Whenever we can, we'll also be sending a Philharmonic musician along with the docent, and that's just a really neat way for a musician to connect up close and personal with the students, and then they also see that musician on stage when they get in the concert hall, and so it's he or she came to my school, and that's a neat connection to make as well.
Yeah. Jeremy, I want to pipe in and say to the audience that I'm not just the vice president, but I'm first and foremost a horn player in the orchestra or the Philharmonic. And I will say that after doing so many student shows after so many years, that as musicians, we learn and see a little bit about how the kids are reacting to these programs. And I do teach at the college level, as you mentioned before, and most of my students here are music education majors. So they're teachers in training. And it's quite interesting to have the insight of seeing what those programs are like, and then being able to relate that to my students here at the college is wonderful. It's really just a terrific experience to see the faces of the kids as they're in the auditorium. There are hundreds of kids, and it's exciting. It's a field trip for them, right? They don't go to high school. These are younger children that come in, or they're bused, or come in with their homeschool groups, and it's just fascinating to watch it all. There's a lot of excitement in the room.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, well, thanks for offering that insight. Yes, like you're on stage, you're seeing how the kids are reacting, and then you're passing that on and preparing like your college students who they will be going into the schools and helping
Yes.
another generation of kids get excited about music. Well, I guess Peter, while I have you on screen, one of the questions I like, okay, like I love helping people share stories. So I was wondering if you can think of an example of how you've seen classical music impact young listeners, like how it changes, like you mentioned how excited they are when they, see the orchestra, but like, so if you can share a story, and I'll put Jeremy on deck and he can share some stories too.
Well, if I go way back into my own elementary school days, I remember seeing two musicians came to my elementary school, and they played a performance for the school. It was a harp player and a horn player, and it turns out that they were married. And little did I know, but about 3 or 4 years later, I was to have private instruction through that horn player. And I had no idea at the time, but it was very interesting. It opens up your mind to possibilities about listening to things that you hadn't quite understood earlier. And I think to reach the students in these younger ages is just a wonderful treat for them as a one-off kind of experience. But then for many kids, I think it really does stick in their mind. I can't tell you how many people have told us through the years that they remember when they were children going to a program such that we're talking about taking to the schools this year. And it was a formative experience for them, and they remember it, and they're wistfully remembering this with smiles on their faces. And it's a wonderful and fun conversation.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to put Jeremy on deck. So, Jeremy, can you share some stories about classical music impacting young people, like what you've observed?
Yeah, sure. Well, first, just to extend on what Peter was saying, I've also met so many people in the community that said, "Oh, I used to go to those concerts when I was a kid, and they were just so well done. It was wonderful." And a lot of those people are now our subscribers and people that come to symphony concerts, or just people that you meet anywhere in the city, and that's really neat to be a part of that legacy. I think if you would ask just about any of the Philharmonic musicians as well, they also had at some point had an experience that's similar to what Peter described, where somehow they were brought to a concert, or they had that experience where they had a chance to meet a professional musician and be exposed up front, up close and personal, and have that spark that, wow, this is really neat, and it's something that maybe I could do too. And that's a neat story. Over the 12 years that I was working for the symphony, I got to meet several individual families that had kids that I sort of watched grow up, because they were constantly coming to the young people's concerts and to the family concerts, and your kids included. I've seen it at numerous events. And some of those children that I got to know for the first time when they were 4 or 5 are now in college, and they're several of them are majoring in music. I know a student who's actually I believe a biochemistry major, but happens to play first violin in the school orchestra, and became a very accomplished violinist after exposure to the symphony and the symphony musicians in town. And so for me, that really adds a lot of meaning to the work that I do. That it's not just about creating great music or inspiring kids to do well in school, although that's really important, but it's really about changing lives at the end of the day, and making life better for young people.
Yeah, I think for folks like me, like watching the saga of what's going to happen with the symphony and what are the musicians doing, and like it felt like like y'all were carrying like this, precious spark or ember, right, and keeping it going. And one thing that's really important to me, and like why, over the years I keep posting about classical music and orchestral music on the SA Moms blog, is it's something like I want there to continue to be a community of people in San Antonio who love symphonic music. And that it starts with kids going to family concerts and young people's concerts. And I've taken my kids to lots of events because I wanted to feel natural to them. And the other day, oh, Pagliacci, what do you think, guys? And they said yes. So they're teenagers now, so they I can't carry them to the concert. They have to go willingly. But I feel like I was able to lay that foundation to them where they see it as a treat, not a chore. And Jeremy, your stories about watching young audience members, and they want to become musicians, some of them, right? Or they become like the symphony listeners of the future, and that they have richer lives because classical music is part of their lives. And I think there's a bunch of us who really, it's really important to us that classical music tradition continues in San Antonio. That's like the San Antonio Philharmonic is so exciting to us. And so I'm really happy to be able to share about the young people's concerts. But I also want to share, you guys have so much, as Peter mentioned, you guys have so much going on. So in particular, the San Antonio Public Library branch events, and that's something that's very accessible for families. So I was wondering, Jeremy, can you talk more about the partnership with the library?
Sure. So I'm really thrilled that we're able to get this partnership going with the San Antonio Public Library again after a hiatus with what happened to the symphony, but also with COVID. And so it's a program that we had started with the symphony for we did it successfully for 5 years, but it's an opportunity for families around the community to go to their local library. And if you look at a map of the San Antonio Public Libraries, they're just so evenly spaced around the community. You don't live anywhere without being, maybe 10 minutes from a library at most. And so, it's an opportunity for you to go to your public library and sit right up close and get to know a symphony musician, hear them play, hear them talk about themselves and their career, the challenges that they had, how their instrument works and produces a sound. And so it's really, it's not just for kids, it's not just for young kids, although certainly they have a lot to gain, but it's for families, for anyone that wants to come and get to know about the Philharmonic. A lot of times the musician will also talk about, upcoming concerts and what we have going downtown or in other locations. So it's a chance to get kind of tuned in as well. And I always love the personal connections at the end of the day are what, really make the Philharmonic more of a family. So, if I go to a library and I meet Peter Rubins, who's, doing a presentation and showing off his horn, and then I'm able to attend a concert and see him on stage, or maybe catch him, backstage as he's going out or something. I think that's a really neat story for a lot of people to feel like they have that connection.
Unmute. Okay. Peter, do you have any comments about that kind of interaction with the public, or
Oh, sure. Well, I've done a number of those library performances, and it's fascinating to watch. The parents might be a little bit more reserved, and the kids could be too at first. But I usually have them, especially if they're young, have them just come and sit up close and around me on the floor. And sometimes we'll play a game. If they're super young, I'll point to my music and I'll ask them, okay, we're going to play a little game. You're going to point in the music and tell me where I stopped playing. And so we're doing like the very beginnings of learning to understand what that printed music looks like and how that relates to sound. And, if you're talking about 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds, I mean, this is a perfect kind of game to be playing with them. And they very much are highly motivated. And it's just a real pleasure and joy to be working with those kids.
That's great. Well, I always want to make sure that folks know how to connect, how to find more information. So of course, everyone to visit the blog post, because Jeremy worked so hard at it. It's got lots of great links. So that's at shmoms.com. But I was wondering, Jeremy, can you comment more on how people can access the young people's concerts? Because it to some extent it's schools coordinating with that high school, but but also there's some accessibility for homeschoolers, or maybe charter schools or schools that aren't associated with those school districts?
Sure, absolutely. And this is really exciting year for the Young People's Concerts in that, we're actually not presenting any of the concerts at a central location. We're going to all of these high school venues, and some of them, very nice venues. They're all very fine venues around the city. Um, it has been a little tricky with the reservation in that, our deal with each of the school districts is we're trying to give, each school district a first opportunity to reserve, and then sort of opening it up to additional schools. But one thing I wanted to point out is that these concerts are not just accessible to public schools, but, and charter schools being included in those, but also to private schools and to homeschool groups as well. And so we have a select set of concert dates that are available to homeschools to reserve as well. The best way to find more information is just to, of course, go to our website, which is saphil.org, so saphil.org. And there's a tab there called Learning, and under there's Young People's Concerts. And then there's a link for each of the 5 Young People's Concert programs that we have coming up this year, with a little blurb about it and the dates and all of that. And my contact information is in there as well. So I will definitely get back to anybody that emails or calls me.
No, that accessibility is really important. As a former homeschooler myself, it's a whole there's a learning curve in your homeschooler, like trying to figure out what you can access, how to navigate it, and to have the San Antonio Philharmonic kind of like putting out the welcome mat to homeschoolers is, that's really meaningful. And there was a big increase in homeschooling because of the pandemic, because families wanted more control and more stability. So it's a lot of work for families to do it well. But you don't have to worry about quarantine, or what the rules are on campus, or how many days since you tested. And and then some families discovered that they really enjoyed homeschooling and they want to stick with it. And for those students who are very committed to their sport, or their dance, or their music, it gives them schedule flexibility to really pour their heart into their music. So for some gifted students, it allows them to really focus on their passion. So I'm really happy that these concerts are accessible to the homeschoolers as well. So, and we have a bunch of homeschoolers in our Facebook discussion group. This is my chance to plug the the San Antonio Charter Moms discussion group on Facebook. There's lots of homeschoolers in there too, because homeschoolers are great problem solvers. They mentor kind of the public school families as well. So, well, I think we've I guess, well, I want to make sure that I would be remiss to mention, okay, how can folks support the San Antonio Philharmonic? Because this is a new venture, and we want to make sure that it gets off to a strong start. So I guess, I mean, the San Philharmonic is a nonprofit, right? And y'all are accepting donations?
It is a nonprofit, yes. Thank you for mentioning that. Our website again is saphil.org, and there are 2 ways to support us. The first is coming to our performances. So whether that be if you're a student and you're going on a field trip with your class, or a homeschooler group going to those performances, or coming to our evening concerts downtown at First Baptist Church. We have 26 performances in the evenings this season. So you'll find tickets to those performances. There are also subscriptions that offer a substantial discount to that. Plus, there's a donate button on the webpage too. And we are very happy to be supported in that way, because we love bringing these school concerts to our community, but they cost. There is a substantial cost to doing that, and the donations are the primary way in which we can finance that.
Yeah, I think an important takeaway from this whole saga of a new organization forming is just to recognize the professionalism of the musicians of the San Antonio Philharmonic, that y'all are very highly trained, specialized what you do. You bring so much to the community in terms of the amount of like teaching and things like that you do. And that it's really important that San Antonio have a healthy, viable, professional symphony that are, orchestra that is putting on a full season of concerts and has the wherewithal to present all these educational concerts. And I'm really happy to see the amount of, you can see it in the website, how much attention is going into community engagement into having, diverse composers and, really representing the community, and how much is going into the education mission, because that's what's going to build, that's what creates the foundation for the future. And I think it makes, I hope the community recognizes and appreciates just how hard you guys are working, and how, what an ordeal you've been through to get here. So I'm really excited, and I'm really grateful, and it's an honor to have you guys here and to be able to spread the word to families who are education minded and want to get their kids involved. So do you, have each of you want to offer some closing thoughts? So maybe Jeremy and then Peter can offer some closing thoughts about classical music and education.
Thank you so much. Well, there's a plethora of studies out there that really link all of the academic benefits that come with music learning. And that can be just as simple as being exposed to quality music. But those who get even more involved and are learning to play an instrument or to sing, reap incredible academic benefits. And not only that, but just, concentration skills, patience, discipline, all of those sort of life skills that, one can really get a lot out of participation in music. And that really ties into our mission as well, because we're trying to engage students at an age when they're just about to go into the middle school years, where then, they've got their opportunity to maybe participate in band or choir or orchestra, some schools mariachi and theater and dance and those things. And so we really want to be a part of inspiring students to take up the arts and to see the arts as something that they can hold on to and make their own lives better.
Yeah.
I agree, Jeremy, and I'll just add that it's often been said that music is the universal language, and I think now, as in many times in the past, it's very important for us to just all have something in common to talk about.
Very well said. Well, on that note, we will close off this interview. I encourage everybody to visit sachartermoms.com to read more about how the San Antonio Philharmonic is sharing classical music with kids. Visit saphil.org to you can get a subscription, you can donate, you can get more information about the Young People's Concerts. So thank you all for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, take care.